How to create XPS plot in Origin. Whether you need good help, a genius writer, a brainy tutor, or a data wizard, Intuito4U has them all. It's like having a research dream team on demand.
All right, let's talk about a core skill for anyone working in material science or chemistry. We're going to go from messy, raw instrument data all the way to a polished, professional plot that's ready for any publication. You know when you're reading a research paper and you just stop and admire one of the graphs? It's just so crystal clear, it perfectly tells its story. Well, today, we're pulling back the curtain to show you exactly how those are made.
Okay, so before we start clicking buttons and getting into the weeds, let's just quickly make sure we're on the same page about what we're actually trying to build and, well, why it's so important in the first place.
So, the data we're wrangling today comes from XPS, which stands for X-ray Photoelectron Spectroscopy. This is an absolutely killer technique that lets scientists see what's happening right on the surface of a material. It doesn't just tell you what elements are there, but what chemical states they're in. It's totally fundamental to understanding how materials really work.
And this right here, this slide, is the whole ballgame. On the left, you've got the raw data just as it comes off the machine. I mean, it's functional, but it's often messy, kind of hard to interpret. And on the right, that's our destination, a plot that's clean, insightful, and looks totally professional. We're about to make that journey from chaos to clarity.
So, how do we start? You might be thinking this is going to be some long, complicated process. But honestly, getting your first visual up on the screen is, well, it's surprisingly fast. In a program like Origin, it's really just a few clicks. You import your data file, which is usually just a simple text file or a CSV. Then you just highlight your columns for binding energy and intensity, click the plot button, and boom, your raw spectrum just appears on the screen. It's really that easy to get your foot in the door. All right, we have our basic plot. Now we get to the most critical part of this whole thing, the scientific analysis. This is where we go beyond just making a picture and actually start revealing the story that's hidden inside that spectrum. And let me be perfectly clear, everything we've done so far has just been set up. These next few steps, this is what turns this picture into real, actual scientific evidence. The very first thing we need to do is a simple but totally vital formatting change. Just double-click on the x-axis, find the tab that says Scale, and check the little reverse box. It seems like such a small thing, but trust me, there's a critical reason for it.
And here's the why. It's a standard convention in the world of XPS. The binding energy axis is always displayed running from high values down to low values. By following this simple rule, your plot instantly speaks the right language. Any other scientist in your field will see it and know exactly how to interpret it correctly.
Okay, now for the most important part of the analysis, peak fitting. This is where we uncover the real chemistry. That big, lumpy peak you see at first, it's not just one signal. It's usually a mix of several smaller, overlapping peaks, all smushed together. And each one of those little peaks represents a unique chemical bond, like a carbon-carbon bond versus a carbon-oxygen bond. Peak fitting is the process of mathematically deconstructing that messy signal. By fitting individual peaks to the data, we can identify each chemical component, figure out its exact binding energy, and, this is the key, we can quantify the relative amounts of each one. This is how you go from just a spectrum to hard numbers about your material's composition.
Okay, the heavy lifting of the analysis is officially done. Now it's time to shift gears and focus on aesthetics. We need to make sure all that hard scientific work is presented in a way that looks as professional as the analysis itself.
Here is a simple but super effective checklist for getting that publication quality look. Bump up your line thickness to 1.5 or 2 points. Choose colors that have high contrast. It makes everything so much clearer. Make sure all your text, your axis titles, your labels is at least 12-point font. Get rid of the background grid lines for a clean, professional look. And finally, make sure your axis titles and your legend are precise and informative. And wow, what a difference, right? On the left, that's the default plot. I mean, the data's there, but it looks kind of generic. But on the right, after just a few minutes of styling using our checklist, the plot is completely transformed. It's polished, professional, and it's ready to take its place in a high-impact journal.
We are in the home stretch. The analysis is done, the design is perfect. The very last step is just to properly export your masterpiece so you can share it with the world.
The export process itself is super simple. You just go up to the export menu and choose your file format. Now for journals, you're going to want to pick a high-quality, lossless format like TIFF or EPS. This is so important because it ensures none of your hard work gets lost to weird compression artifacts. And here is the number you absolutely have to remember.
300 dpi, or dots per inch. This is the industry standard, the minimum resolution for publication. Setting your export to 300 or even 600 dpi is what guarantees your plot will look crisp and sharp in print, instead of all blurry and pixelated.
And there you have it. We've gone from a messy column of numbers all the way to a fully analyzed, beautifully styled, publication-ready graph. And the best part is, once you master this workflow, it really only takes a few minutes to pull off.
A graph is so much more than just a picture of data. It's a visual narrative. It tells a story. And now that you have the tools to craft that story with clarity and professionalism, the only question left is, what fascinating story will your next plot tell?
And subscribe now for more amazing videos just like that. And don't forget to like, share and subscribe to yours channel. Thanks for watching.